A lot of talk about the Great Resignation, and certainly there's different iterations of it. I heard recently it's the Great Reevaluation, where people are rethinking their jobs and what they're trading for their security and their income. And we should not be surprised. And I think one of the big things that I'd like to start off in talking about the Great Resignation is that this has been happening for a decade. This is not new. The pandemic, in my opinion, became an accelerant. You know, it challenged us to be home. It challenged us, or put us in a position where we're home with our spouses, we're home with our kids, we're able to go to sports practices or all those different things that we could never do when we were working 8 to 5 somewhere. So it just naturally, not anybody's intention, good or bad, but being sequestered in your home, all of a sudden your experience is different, and so people reevaluated. But the Great Resignation started at least a decade ago, and really leading off with a millennial generation who is no longer willing, to do what an X or a boom generation was willing to do. I'm boom, my partner's X, my daughter's X. We were programmed to work. I mean, basically, as we grew up, we watched our parents, and that example that was set is, this is what you do. And even more, if you want to be successful. Now, if you want to get by, you work and you do whatever. But if you really want to be successful, you want to work all the time. And so the millennial generation watched, sat and watched their parents work all the time. They watched their health degrade. They didn't get to spend any time, with their parents. And through all of that, they decided that that's not the life we want to live. Now, it's interesting that boom and X generation people in the workplace will say, hey, what's wrong with these kids today? They don't know how to work, and they don't want to work. It's not true. No, we trained them. We trained them to look at what we did and decide that that's not what I want for my life. And so the Great Resignation is not new. The pandemic accelerated it, but the challenge is that if organizations were limping by with an unhealthy culture, if organizations were limping by not paying attention to the needs of the people that actually work there, that game's over. There is no room for that anymore, and this is why you're seeing 50% of the workforce already committed to another job.